Chapter 5 The Secret. Alright, buddy. Welcome back to some Poirot, the first cases. A restless sleep combined with the image of the eerie figure in the snow has only convoluted what my little gray cells must consider. I should not have expected this to be a simple case. I have been lied to by at least one of the guests. Their alibis all confirm each other's, but I know this is not to be true. How the Major was involved with the blackmail eludes me. For now, once I have confirmed whether he was the author or recipient, I can consider my next step in my investigation. Alright, well, obviously we don't have any clues to point to that yet. Hello,
Good morning,
Archibald.
Detective. You slept well?
I'm afraid I did not. I was hoping for at least a moment of pleasant slumber, but alas, it was not to be. Finding the Major's killer is the only thing that will put my mind at ease.
In that case, Detective, what can I do to help?
While watching the snowfall last night, I swear I saw the silhouette of a figure standing in the garden.
In that snow? If someone was out there, we'd have another body on our hands.
I realize how strange it sounds. I would not believe it myself if I had not seen it with my own eyes.
Staff have reported seeing things in the dark before, but it always just turns out to be shadows. It was likely just your mind playing tricks.
I did not see Mademoiselle Elizabeth last night.
I'm afraid our Lizzie is not well. I think the events of yesterday were too much for her. We'll have to just make do without her this morning.
As Wordsworth once stated, rest and be thankful. Perhaps a chance of peace and relaxation will work wonders.
I'd like to also speak with Madame Vanderbosch at her earliest convenience.
She is currently eating breakfast alone in the dining room. It's how she prefers it. But if you wish to speak with her now...
It is important I speak with her, but perhaps it is better to allow her to finish. I do not wish to upset her before I have even asked my first question. I could perhaps investigate the garden for any evidence of the figure from last night. Would you permit me access to the house's telephone?
I would, but I'm afraid I found this morning that the telephone lines aren't working. The snow continued through the night and must have damaged them. Even if we could use the telephone, I don't think anyone would be able to reach us.
In that case, it will be up to myself alone to solve the case.
I'll let you know if anything changes. But until some of the snow clears, enough for the carriages to arrive, we are snowed in.
Although I am not able to call upon or leave the house to find help from the local authorities, it also means none of the guests are able to leave. I have until the snow clears to find not only Mademoiselle Angeline's blackmailer, but also the Major's killer.
Taken care of. Master Demir and his brother, after sobering up, helped me move him into the cellar. Best place for the time being.
Très bien. I imagine there is no reason for anyone to go down there.
Besides me, no one. Once this snow clears, we will be able to move him from the house.
Odds are the body's already
Your
gone.
assistance has been most
Just my
valuable
guess.
as always.
Alright. So she's eating breakfast, but we shouldn't go and talk to her yet. So let us go and inspect the garden first. I think I saw somebody else standing there, but finding evidence of the figure from last night will on one hand confirm I am not seeing things as Monsieur Sterling suggested, but on the other pose even more questions that must be answered. Yes, as to why somebody would be out here.
Oh.
A well-made lighter with the insignia of a military regiment. The Major must have dropped it. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Ah.
There's a small trail of footprints in the snow. The Major was seen walking around here yesterday. It's weird that we're not leaving any footprints or tracks in the slightest, but you know. I don't know the extent of like where I can, like the bounds of where I can currently walk, but I mean, he is wearing like some layers, but just like the way it looks out here, I definitely would have went and got like another heavier
Oh,
jacket. It was almost disappearing in the snow. I doubt we will see too many birds in these conditions. Yeah. I mean, maybe if the bird feeder was up. Oh no, I guess a feeder is not a birdhouse. I have some birds in my backyard. Every evening when I uh, change out my birds' food and water, they they're waiting out there because I just go and throw the food outside
ah,
and they eat it. They must have been left out for collection. I cannot see anyone making it through this snow though. And apparently they've learned what time I change out my birds because pretty much every day when I go to do it, I open up my back door and they're all sitting on the ground out there. Like they're waiting for it. I mean, they can't be getting very much. I mean, like I only give my birds a little bit of food every day. They're tiny little finches, so it's not like they eat a whole lot.
ah.
Garden tools have been left out, presumably before the snow fell. Yeah, what kind of fucking shit gardener do you have that leaves his tools out? Not even like clean up after yourself, but I mean, if you're the gardener, those are your tools to use. Why would you leave them out all winter to get covered in snow? Like, also, we have found absolutely nothing out here.
Oh,
The house is completely snowed in. It does not look like we shall be going anywhere anytime soon. All the items hidden in the snow. The snow is still falling. I'm hardly dressed for the occasion. Perhaps Madame Van den Bosch has finished her breakfast and is ready to answer my questions. Alright. Well, that was pointless. Hello, Elizabeth. Or
Good morning,
Angeline.
Detective. I hope you were comfortable last night.
bonjour, mademoiselle. The room was more than pleasant, merci. I'm afraid my mind was not in a state to enjoy it to its full potential, though.
I can't imagine any of us slept soundly last night.
Hopefully, guilt will be weighing heavily on someone's shoulders this morning.
Perhaps on more than one set.
I'm sorry if I was not much help last night, Detective.
On the contrary, your inside knowledge of the guests was of great help to my investigation. But there are many more questions that require answers.
What were your feelings towards the Major's position in the house?
His position? You mean about him living here?
Oui, even in a house this size, you must see a lot of each other.
I enjoyed having him here. When I was away with Gideon, it was comforting to know Maman was not alone. Although his work with Mr. Da Silva has kept him away from the house of late.
What can you tell me about their relationship, working or otherwise?
There is not much to tell, only that there is no love lost between them.
Do you know what their business entailed?
He was always quite private about his work. I know that he was helping Mr. Da Silva with some safety matters.
I found a check addressed to the Major from Monsieur Da Silva. It noted security consulting.
Ah, that's right, security. With his military training, he helped Mr. Da Silva prepare for any trouble with the strikes.
Although the Major's death has taken precedence, there has been a development in the blackmail case.
A development? Oh, Detective, I knew I could count on you.
It may not be the news you had wished for, though. Another letter has been found.
Addressed to me? I don't know how much more I can take of this.
Pardonnez-moi, mademoiselle. Although it has been written in the same manner, using similar phraseology, it was not sent for your eyes, rather the Major's. Or at least that is how it seems.
I'm sorry, Detective, I don't understand. It is addressed to him or not?
I found it in the Major's study yesterday while conducting my preliminary search. Whether he is the author of the letter or the recipient, I am still yet to discover.
Could the Major been behind the blackmail?
Heavens no, he could not do that.
You did not hesitate for a moment.
Why would he do such a thing? And then to send a letter to himself. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Let's say somebody blackmailed you for like, let's say you're a rich person, $1 million, right? Somebody blackmailed you for $1 million. You find out who that person is, but you have no way to prove it. You blackmail them for $1 million and get your money back.
Merci for your time, mademoiselle.
Like,
You are to a
come on.
detective what an umbrella is to a traveler on a wet day.
Useful?
Exactement.
What a weird way to phrase that, but whatever. Oh, we got a link here, though. See, Angeline disputes the Major being blackmailed. Angeline knew the Major well. Oh, whoops. The writer was demanding 5,000. Well, let's see. These two don't really.
on thought.
Well, actually, you know what? It's probably these two
The
together,
pieces
right?
of the puzzle are finally.
One can't be surprised with Angelina Felix's bond. He's been a figure in her life for so long. Angeline is attached to the Major. Alright. Yeah, probably sees him as like a stepdad, I guess. I don't know how she feels about her father, so.
Bonjour, Monsieur Demir.
Detective Poirot, how are you?
The truth, Monsieur. With each step towards uncovering the blackmailer, I am thrown 2 steps back as to the identity of the Major's killer.
Is there something I can help you with?
After investigating the crime scene yesterday, I asked Monsieur Sterling to move the body.
Archibald came to me and asked for my help in the matter. My brother and I dealt with it.
Merci for your help. It is a job that only the professionals should have to undertake.
It's a job that had to be done, although it may have affected my brother more than I.
How so?
At the sight of the body, the color drained from his face. Once we had reached the cellar, Zachariah took himself straight off to bed, without even a good night.
While in the study, I noticed the Major's safe was locked. Would you know who has access?
Felix and Madame Vandenbosch are the only ones with keys, as far as I'm aware. Oh, and Archibald. I'm sure I heard Felix asking him to return something to it once.
Wonder why Monsieur Sterling did not mention this previously. Have you spoken with your brother this morning?
I have not seen him since last night. I'm sure he will have been fine after a good night's sleep.
You're assuming he got a good night's sleep. Imagine alcohol would have acted as a sufficient sleeping aid.
He does not need his younger brother checking in on him.
Perhaps that is exactly what he requires.
I'm not sure what he told you yesterday, Detective, but he's a big boy. He can look after himself.
I worry that may not be the case, Monsieur. His time in the war came up in conversation more than once during our conversations.
He's still talking about it? I thought talking to the doctor would have stopped all of that.
Merci, Monsieur.
Okay, so we know that he went to a psychiatrist after the war. I mean, that makes sense. A lot of people, would have to. Zachariah was shocked by the Major's corpse. Zachariah was therapized after the war. Is that therapized? Is that really a word? I've never seen that word before. Probably because it sounds horrible. Like, that is not a good word. Getting claims Archibald has access to the safe. Alright, well, I mean, these two things look like they would.
Magnifique.
I have heard of men returning physically from war, but their minds remain on the battlefield. Yeah, it happens. I don't like how you have to connect to things like that and then talk to the same person.
The
like,
Major's killer, of course.
your brother was seeing a doctor.
When he returned from the war, he was a different man. Everything became about what he had seen.
I cannot speak from experience, but I can only imagine the horrors he must have witnessed.
The first weeks he would wake in the night, screaming. I found him one night, cowering behind a desk in the study. And when I tried to help him out from beneath it, well, that was the first time I had ever feared for my life.
That is not why you two are no longer close?
And not at all, Detective. We were always very different in nature. While I had always wanted to follow an academic path, Zachariah was more of a free spirit, or at least as free as our father and the laws would allow.
And yet, he ended up in the military. Quite the contrast.
Our father demanded that he at least try to do something with his life. And when some of his friends joined the army, he signed up with them.
That's not a good reason to sign up.
It wasn't long before he moved out from the family home after his return from the army. I always assumed that he had put the war and everything that came with it behind him and was moving on. But now I see that is far from the truth.
Alright. Well, I mean, war isn't an easy thing to get over.
Countess, I wonder if I could ask you some questions.
That is it, detective? No small talk? No inflating of one's ego?
I am afraid not, Countess. With a murderer still loose in the house, my mind is rather preoccupied.
Well then, detective, perhaps I can be of some assistance.
Comment, madame?
I thought you might like to know what I found on the Major's body.
I demand to know who gave you permission to see the Major's body.
That certainly piqued your interest.
A man has been murdered, and you find it acceptable to fool around and joke.
Oh, please, detective. Do you really think so little of me? Archibald asked for my assistance. He knows of my medical training from my days as a nurse, and I thought I would be able to help. Even if it has been some years.
It was not his place to grant you access to the body.
I shall remember to keep my assistance to myself next time.
What did you discover on the body?
A single stab wound, which you no doubt already knew. The knife was held in their right hand. I would say their predominant hand.
Pride myself on order of method, and this is far from either. A suspect in a murder investigation has examined the very victim that they are suspected of killing. It's like something out of a crime novel.
Judging by the depth of the wound, I would say there was no great force put into the strike. More a sign of defense than attack. If I had to say what weapon was used, a small, sharp knife or dagger.
This may confirm my suspicions of the Major's knife being used to kill him.
I understand it may be difficult for one to keep such information to yourself, but I ask you to try. Your involvement has already tainted my investigation.
You are welcome, detective.
When my superior officer hears of the goings-on in this house, I will surely be seeing the green fields of the countryside once more. I must do all I can to redeem the reputation I have worked to build, starting with finding the
S'il vous
killer.
plaît, Comtesse. Keep this information to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, Archibald really shouldn't have had anybody touching the body. And she should have known better too, like. Dumbasses, all of them. But as he said, it's like in a crime novel. Everybody's a fucking idiot. Alright, well. No entry. No entry. Nobody over here. There doesn't seem to be as many people to talk. No entry there. Okay, so let's go see if she's done eating. Well, I must speak with Madame Van den Bosch. I should also take this opportunity to talk to Mademoiselle Rihanna in the kitchen. What the hell could I have... Oh, just go and talk to her. Okay. Was that really necessary? I shall avoid you for as long as possible. Doesn't look like there's anything to invest. Oh, pots and pans.
Huh.
The cook has obviously used them for quite some time, judging by their condition. Well, I mean, yeah. There does not seem to be anything of interest.
Bonjour, madame. You must be the wonderful cook.
Wonderful and modest, sir.
I am Rihanna.
My taste buds thank you for the ravishing meal last night. It has been some time since I ate so well.
Glad to hear it, sir.
S'il te plaît, madame. A detective is fine.
In that case, mademoiselle is fine for me, and I will ignore your presumption of marriage.
Très bon, mademoiselle.
What's that? You have met all the characters in the game. All right. You know, when I read that and the fact that this is called the first case, it is called the first cases, right? Yeah. So I didn't realize that that basically meant 2 cases. I mean, you could argue 3 because you have the missing bracelet is 1, and then you have the blackmail and the major's murder so far. So that would technically be 3 cases, but realistically, the murder and blackmail are the same case. So I really expected this to be like multiple, like smaller cases, like about the size of the missing bracelet. Anyway, you've been with the Van den Bosch family for quite some time.
That's right. I've seen staff come and go, but a house always needs a trustworthy cook.
I agree. But if I was to eat what you prepare every day, I fear I may be the size of La Maison.
Not a bad thing, detective. You could do with some meat on your bones.
I mean, he seems to be a good size. It's hard to tell when people are wearing suits like that, but like he doesn't look skinny.
Well, with the snow still not clearing, we may be stuck here for the weekend. Perhaps I should look to adjust my pantalon buttons.
I understand you took some ice to the major yesterday.
I did. Monsieur Archie told me what had happened. Bruises can swell fast, so I took him some ice to bring it down.
Strange, Monsieur told me it was the major that requested the ice. Well, I mean, the major may have requested it from Sterling, so Sterling came and told her, and she took it up. I mean, they're like nothing about what we've heard so far would contradict
How
that.
was the Major when you saw him?
Grumpy, as always.
I suppose one would not take kindly to being punched as he was.
Punched or not, he was as ungrateful as ever.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
I mean, I swear to God, if that's a clue, I'm gonna be pissed. That's because, if so, that's one of those things that are like, Rana took ice of her own accord. You don't know that it was of her own accord. I mean, once again, the major could have told Archie that he needed ice. Archie went and told her about the incident, and then she took the ice up to him. Like, there is no reason to think that she just didn't phrase it weirdly. I mean, oh yeah, he came and told me about what happened, so I took the ice up. Not thinking it's like, so I took the ice that he asked for up. Like, so few people. I mean, granted, I don't know what it's like in, where are we, Belgium, I think, and this time period, but I still have a feeling that people would drop worthless information like that out of their sentences all the time, like they do now. I mean, I hate it when shit like that is important in like Sherlock Holmes or that, where it's like, aha, they did this, therefore, and it's like, no, that means nothing. Like, now, if I had asked her, so they didn't request it, like follow up, like that's one of those questions where you need the follow up question, right? Where it's like, so you took it up, yourself, or you asked to take it, like. Like there is absolutely no reason to think that. Anyway, Madame Van den Bosch's collection of art extends further than just paintings. Yeah, most people's do. I mean,
Aha.
the fallen snows laid a beautiful white blanket. Yeah. A lot of windows in here. Another bust, same thing. Yep. Another window. Nope. Another bust though.
Aha.
It's a busty room right here. Let's see how we're doing. I think that they had tracking on those. Maybe not. Yeah, well. Mm, yeah, I don't know. All right, well, let's talk to Bitchy Face here.
Bonjour, madame. May I offer my condolences for your loss?
Thank you, Detective, but they are not necessary. What can I do for you?
I was hoping you would be prepared to answer some questions.
If I must.
Why would someone want to kill the Major?
I'm sure you're aware he was not the easiest man to get along with. His hot temper made him a number of foes.
A hot temper is reason enough to kill a man.
His mouth often acted before his brain. Perhaps someone had grown tired of dealing with it.
You suggested why someone would kill him, but who do you believe would do it?
Seeing as I heard Mr. Becker's in what I would describe as an unnecessarily loud exchange of words yesterday, he would be my first suspect.
You heard them yourself.
How could I not? The volume they were shouting at, I could hear them from the study in my room.
You did not think it fitting to tell me this yesterday?
I didn't think Felix was going to wind up dead and a murderer loose in my house. My apologies, Detective.
Although I must learn more of this argument, it is not Madame that I expect the answers to come from. Rather, Monsieur Becker's. He has a great deal of explaining to do. So a letter was found in the Major's study.
I assume you are talking about the supposed blackmail letter.
Oui, madame. You know of it?
It arrived shortly after the first. Rather coincidental, if you ask me.
I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say, madame.
He no doubt had secrets hidden away. But do you honestly think Felix had anything of value to his name worth threatening him for?
I mean, he was a major in the military. It's entirely possible that he was involved in something that they didn't want out, and not like, and yes, he was a dickhead, but I mean, it could have very easily even been just something not, like one of those tragic accidents, like we need to like bad intel or something, like there's enemy forces in this village, we must move in and clean them out, and then they find out that they've shot a bunch of civilians or something, like it's like obviously that's horrible, and generally the soldiers who end up doing that are not okay afterwards. Like they generally like discharge mental problems, like the works. But I mean some do get over it, I guess. That seems like a bad phrase to say to do it, but I mean work past it, I guess, and come out okay. But I mean that could be something that could be blackmailed, because that's something that the military tends to like to cover up, because they don't want it to get out, because then it's like, even though unfortunately mistakes like that do happen, the general population isn't quite so forgiving with an oops. Because I mean, how do you spin that to not like how do you spin that? It's like, we got bad intel, like it, you know. But anyway,
Perhaps you should enlighten me.
Well, he was here, living in my house, eating my food, prepared by my staff. Does that answer your question, Detective?
no. How do you think the Major came to have the letter?
I wouldn't put it past him to have written it himself, in the hopes of getting some sympathy from me.
And the other letters?
He probably wrote those too. If Angeline paid the first, that would have given him the money to pay the second letter. He is the White Knight, saves the day, and expects to live here happily ever after.
Huh. I did not expect Madame Van den Bosch to be so blunt with her thoughts towards the Major. I was under the impression there was more to their friendship, not less. I mean, that's a clever ruse right there, I'm not going to lie. But here's the thing. If you want to do that, right, and make money, you make the first one a lot of money that they do have and can pay, right? So let's say you make it like $10 million. They pay you the $10 million. You make the second letter knowing that they don't have it, $5 million, right? And then they're like, oh no, we can't pay it. There's no way we could get that much money. And you're like, I got you covered. Bam, $5 million. And they're like, oh my God. And then you're like the big hero and still stole $5 million from them. It's quite the nefarious plan that Madame has laid out for the Major. I'm not sure I can believe he would go to such levels of deceit. I'm sure Mademoiselle Angeline will have an opinion on the matter. So I'd like to ask you about Monsieur de Silva.
What is it you wish to know?
You two have been friends for some time now. And while I do not mean to pry, has your relationship only...
If you are trying to insinuate that Mr. De Silva and I are running around like schoolchildren, you could not be further from the truth. He was friends with my husband, for goodness sake.
Oui, I understand they worked together. Investments, if I am correct.
Mr. De Silva was the voice of reason that my husband should have listened to more often, instead of throwing our money at businesses that were already on the verge of bankruptcy.
Merci, madame. I shall not bother you any further.
I have gathered all I need from Madame Van den Bosch and Mademoiselle Rihanna. I shall return to the Great Hall. Oh, we do have a link to make here, though. Cassandra believes the Major was a blackmailer. The Major had a temper. Cassandra suspects Hugo. And Major didn't have much to his name. Okay. Well, I don't think that these two things are connected.
Cannot see the logic in this.
There was just a rather large gap in between the two of them. These two could link together,
I must take
though.
a different...
Okay, so these two obviously
What
disagree,
a revelation.
though. Angeline and Cassandra have different impressions of the Major. There must be a reason for this. Alright, that's speaking to Angeline. Oh wow, it literally locked us out. Alright, well, whatever. Let us speak to Angeline.
I can help you with, detective?
Your maman did not describe her friendship with the Major in such a positive light.
You have got the wrong end of the stick, detective. Maman has snapped at him recently, but it was nothing more than that. It was something to do with the letter. I heard them in the library before Maman shouted and he stormed out of the room past me.
Could it have been the blackmail letter that instigated their argument?
Why would Maman be upset with him over the letter?
Madame is of a very different opinion from yourself regarding his connection with the letters. She believes him to be the author.
That is what she told you? She has always been one to make a quick, if not rash decision, but she cannot truly believe that.
Was the Major aware you had paid the first blackmail letter?
I don't recall telling him directly. I did not want Maman to find out it had been paid. If he knew, surely she would.
Madame believes he may have been behind all the letters, and taking your payment of the first, then used it to pay the second and be the hero in you and your mother's eyes.
I never knew Maman had such an imagination. Where would she get a story like that from?
That is a question I was hoping you may be able to answer.
You have met him. Do you really think he's capable of such a devious plan?
Based on our interactions, I would go with no. He seems to be more of like a blunt force object than a scalpel, you know?
It is a plan only the most crooked and underhanded could create. Is that the Major? I am not so sure.
The more I think of Madame's story, the more ridiculous and obscure it sounds, but that does not mean it can be ruled out.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Yeah, I really doubt it because, like, the Major, like I said, he seems more of like a in-your-face kind of person. I don't think he would dick around like that. Angeline questions Cassandra's reasoning for the Major, and Cassandra wasn't happy with the Major.
Order and method.
You know?
That is the...
And the Major had a temper.
Come,
no?
my little great... This will not get me any... Some would say a lucky guess.
Yeah, that's weird. Wonder if the blackmail had a greater effect on their relationship than expected. Oh, back to Angeline.
Is there something I can...
Was the arrival of the blackmail letter what caused the tension in Madame and the Major's relationship?
I'm afraid it had been that way for some time. Maman is not forthcoming with her emotions, as I'm sure you are aware.
Except for
But
anger.
I could tell she had not been happy with their arrangement for the last few months.
What gave you that impression?
There was not one particular thing that she expressed, it was just the way she spoke to him and of him when he wasn't present.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
I believe I've gathered everything as required. Monsieur Sterling will be able to assist me in gaining access to the Major's study. Okay.
Whatever you need.
Wish to inspect the Major's study again.
Certainly, Detective.